thoughts will come into the mind. This is natural. But the question is, when thoughts become very strong and they're very negative, the more difficult it is to remove that thought, the more you need to cry out for Krishna. If you let the thought stay, then the thought gets strength. The longer it stays, the stronger it gets. So, therefore you have to get it out. We use the term, kill the thought or it will kill you. Yes? So, the mind is chanchala, flickering. Microphone?
Hare Krishna. Since I've had lots of experience of mechanical chanting and mechanical prayers, I can just say that we can only begin where we are. We can't be where we aren't. We can only begin where we are. So if we're beginning mechanically, but practicing regularly, we can feel that chanting mechanically doesn't feel so good. It doesn't even feel very natural. And then that can motivate us to get in touch with our heart. And that Krishna, I do want to chant from my heart, and I do want to pray from my heart. So we can start praying to Krishna, please help me somehow or other chant from my heart. And then Krishna will show us how, little by little. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. This question is for His Holiness Chandramauli Swami Maharaj. We should remember Krishna in His personal form, and that we are all the souls, not this body, and we should all serve Krishna in Golok Vrindavan. Then we all have personal form even there. What does it mean that the soul has a personal form? What is the form of the soul? Krishna has a form, soul has a form in the spiritual world. So what is the specific form of the soul?
This is described by Srila Prabhupada in one lecture, that the soul has also a form like Krishna. As Krishna's original form is Govindam, he plays on his flute, he has 2 arms, 2 legs, just like we do in this material world, but it's a reflection of the original transcendental form of Krishna. So the soul also, in its natural state, has a form. Form could be, cowherd boy, gopi, one of the residents of Sri Vrindavan Dham. Its original form, or of course, and Vaikuntha, the Lord has 4 arms as Vaikuntha Krishna. But Prabhupada said, just like the original form of the Lord is of 2 hands and 2 legs, you also have a form similar to that. Well, how do we can't really speculate or try to, use any kind of, mental power to understand these things. These things are revealed by one's power of devotion. It is explained that when one is qualified in spiritual life, then the spiritual master tells the devotee what his transcendental form is. And if the spiritual master is no longer present on the planet, then Krishna arranges to, in some way, to give that information to the soul. Of course, on that platform, one is already on they're on the platform of bhava. That means there are 9 stages in bhakti. The 8th stage is bhava, or preliminary affection for Krishna. So before then, there's no question of trying to figure it out, because one can never. It's revealed by the power of one's devotion on that stage of bhava, which is the preliminary stage of pure love of God. But Prabhupada explains, just like, you have Krishna has 2 arms, 2 legs, that's his original form as Krishna in Vrindavan. The soul also has a similar form. Maybe it's not because you're a man, you're going to be a cowherd boy, or because you're a lady, you're going to be a gopi. It's not like that. And the soul is by nature transcendental to all material designations, but still it has a form that is somewhat, we might say our material form is somewhat similar to our original spiritual form. but it's not necessarily the same. So that is coming from statements by Srila Prabhupada. But don't try to figure it out. You'll never figure it out. In our line of traditions, it goes back to where Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was very strong on this idea of trying to, adopt your spiritual form preliminary before you were qualified. So he pushed the whole idea of this Siddha Pranali and Siddha Deva initiation process. He took it out of our Sampradaya, and Srila Prabhupada, being his dutiful disciple, followed suit. But Prabhupada gives the understanding through his words. It's mentioned also in the Shastras that when one is qualified, the spiritual master reveals that form, whatever that form is. Because on that stage, there's no question of, material desires. One is free from all material desires. As long as we have material desires, and we try to figure out our spiritual form, we'll superimpose something material on our spiritual form or our spiritual practice in the spiritual world. We have to be free from all these material considerations.
Hare Krishna. This question is for His Grace Soma Prabhu. Could you kindly share with us some of your interactions with Srila Prabhupada?
There you go.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll talk about 1971 in Boston. It was the first time that I saw Srila Prabhupada. And Satsrup Maharaj was the temple president. He was a householder at that time. And our temple was very poor. It was a big temple. The ISKCON Press used to be there, but they had moved to New York. And because we were very poor, even though we had like one room where we fixed up for Prabhupada to give darshans, there was an elderly gentleman who used to visit the temple, and he convinced Satsrup that our temple wasn't good enough for Srila Prabhupada to stay in, because Srila Prabhupada was Jagat Guru, spiritual master of the universe. You have to offer him the best things. So he volunteered to rent the most expensive hotel in Boston, the Four Seasons Hotel. He rented the penthouse suite, very expensive. So the devotees went and they decorated the hotel with nice pictures of Krishna and flowers and things. And when Srila Prabhupada arrived at the airport, that was the first time that I saw him. I saw him get off the airplane from the behind the glass, and we all paid obeisances. We were so happy to see Srila Prabhupada. And as he was walking through the airport, we had a really wonderful kirtan to greet him. And they had a car waiting for Srila Prabhupada at the airport, and he got in the car and he drove away. And we were all just standing there at the airport. Of course, we wanted to go with Prabhupada, but the driver who had brought us had parked the car, and he had also come to greet Srila Prabhupada. So he had to go back and get his car, and it took like what seemed forever, because we were just waiting there. We wanted to go hear Prabhupada speak at the temple. So finally he came back, and we got to the temple, and Prabhupada was like halfway through his lecture. But I can remember, staying in the back of the temple and just seeing Srila Prabhupada sit on the Vyasasana. I had the good fortune that I made the Vyasasana, and to see Srila Prabhupada accept it and to sit on it was a wonderful feeling. And to just see Srila Prabhupada, I had heard so many tapes, and I talked to so many people who had seen and known Srila Prabhupada. But when the first time to see him in person is just such a special experience that I can like remember it like it's yesterday. Just seeing Srila Prabhupada sitting on the Vyasa-san and the incense going up and him speaking. And I can remember just, it sounded just like he did on the tapes, and he was saying the same things, you know, to surrender to Krishna, and you're not the body. And after his lecture, he went into the one room that we had fixed for Srila Prabhupada, and he gave a little darshan, and he had just a little like lectern, just a little table that he was sitting behind, and devotees were talking to him just a little bit, asking a few questions. And then Satsvarup Maharaj said, Srila Prabhupada, it's getting late, and we've rented a hotel for you to stay in, so you know we probably should be going there. And Srila Prabhupada's eyes got like very wide, and he said, "Hotel?" He said, "I'm not going." And everybody was shocked. And then he quoted a verse, and he said, the country is in the mode of goodness, and the city is in the mode of passion, but a hotel is simply a brothel. He said, "I'm not going." He said, "But the temple is Vaikuntha. I'll stay in the temple." And he did. He stayed like 2.5 days just in that one little room. And they just rolled out a little, mat for him to sleep on the floor. And he didn't want to leave the temple. He didn't want to go to the hotel. He just stayed there. And I can remember that night because the room that we fixed up for Prabhupada also used to be the Brahmachari ashram. So all the brahmacharis were sleeping in the basement, in the concrete floor. And I can remember just lying down and knowing that, Srila Prabhupada was just right above me, just, 2 floors above. And I got that feeling that Srila Prabhupada is here, he's in the temple, but he had always been there because he had been there because we were worshiping him, because we had his instructions. So I can remember that distinct feeling that, yes, Srila Prabhupada is here, but he's always been there. And then the next morning, I got initiated, and Srila Prabhupada also performed a fire sacrifice for installing Radha Gopi Ballava, which are the Radha Krishna deities in the Boston temple. And Srila Prabhupada, he just sat on a little cushion on the floor, and Satsvarup Maharaj did the fire sacrifice and the Abhishek of Radha Gopi Ballava. And Srila Prabhupada personally dried off Radharani after the Abhishek. And I was just sitting right across from him, and I can remember Srila Prabhupada, he was just like polishing Radharani, like her face, and then he would look at her. And it seemed like it would take a long time, and then he would just polish a little bit more. And you could tell that he was just right there with Radharani. And he also helped dress the deities. The clothes that they made didn't fit properly, and they actually had to cut with scissors some of the cloth to get it on Radha and Krishna. But Srila Prabhupada was right there making sure everything was all right. And during the fire sacrifice, he had devotees get on the 4 corners and read from different scriptures. He had one devotee reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, another one from Bhagavad Gita, and another one from, I think it was the Nectar of Devotion. And then he himself read from the Brahma Samhita. So Satsvarup was they'd done the Abhishek, they were just starting the fire, and Srila Prabhupada got the Brahma Samhita book, the Bhakti Siddhanta had written, and he chanted the Govinda prayers. And he did it in a very slow, melodious, just completely transcendental and beautiful way. I can remember it was like, Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. And he went through all the verses in that slow kind of tune. And after he did that, and Satsrup was building the fire, then he sat back and he chanted on the beads of the people who were getting initiated. And finally, we get time to give the devotees their names, and he was calling them up, and Prabhupada would ask everyone, how many rounds do you chant? What are the 4 regulative principles? And they would have to say that while, kneeling right in front of Srila Prabhupada as he was sitting on his little cushion on the floor. And then Prabhupada would give their names and then give them the beads. And when it was my turn, I came and paid my obeisances in front of Srila Prabhupada, and he asked me, how many rounds do you chant? And 16. And, what are the 4 regulative principles? And I was really nervous, but I said them all. And I was just, kind of looking at the ground, and he said, so your name is Somadas. And he said, Soma means the moon. And I was looking on the floor, and I was thinking, the moon? I thought we were supposed to get names of Krishna. And so I looked up at Srila Prabhupada, and he was just effulgent, and he had a huge smile on his face, and he was, just looking right at me. And then he just said, you are moon-like. And then everybody went, Jai, and he gave me the beads, and I was like in shock, but very happy. And I sat down, and then the next person was my godbrother Sudas, and the same thing. How many rounds do you chant? What are the 4 regulative principles? I said, okay, so your name is Sudas. He says, Sudas means very nice servant of Krishna. And he was just about to hand him his beads, and he said, Sudas means very nice servant of Krishna. Do you understand? And he shook his head no. And so Prabhupada took the beads back, and he said, do you want to be or don't you? And then, of course, he said yes. And then Prabhupada smiled and gave him his beads. And it was just so nice, though, just to be sitting right opposite Prabhupada, like, at the same level, and seeing how he was really like happy and jolly, and it's just a wonderful experience. But anyways, after that was over, because Srila Prabhupada actually stayed in the temple, we only had 2 bathrooms. There was the men's bathroom and the women's bathroom, but because Prabhupada was staying there, we closed off the men's bathroom for Prabhupada's use only. So we were sharing, all the men and all the women were sharing the same bathroom. So I was standing in the hallway with Petita Durant, another devotee, and it happened to be, the room where Srila Prabhupada, it was in this like skinny hallway, and there was Prabhupada's door, and then at the end of this hallway, you could go right was Prabhupada's bathroom, and left was the bathroom that we were sharing. So we were just standing there waiting because there were some women in the bathroom. And as we were waiting there, all of a sudden the door opened and Srila Prabhupada walked out. And, I was just like speechless. I didn't know what to do. All of a sudden Srila Prabhupada's standing right in front of me. And this other devotee, Petita Durant, he just threw his hands up in the air and said, "All glories to Srila Prabhupada," but really loud. And And Prabhupada just kind of smiled, and we both just paid our dandavats. And Prabhupada went, and he went into the bathroom. So we were just looking at each other, thinking, wow, that was really nice. And then as we were standing there, all of a sudden Prabhupada walks out of the bathroom again. And Patita again just threw his hands up in the air and shouted, "All glories to Srila Prabhupada." And we paid our dandavats. And then when I got up, Srila Prabhupada had stopped. And he was standing there, and he was looking at us. And this is my most favorite remembrance of Srila Prabhupada, because he had such a wonderful expression. It's impossible to describe, but he was almost like a little boy, like childlike, such an innocence. But he had this immense amount of compassion and love that you could just feel. And he was just, like a little boy, but he was very compassionate, and he had this smile. And, I had just been initiated, just a few hours ago. Prabhupada had accepted all my karma. And just seeing him there with that wonderful expression on his face, I just wanted to do whatever I could, surrender my whole life to him. But he just didn't say anything but smile, and then he just went into his room. And because other temples see Srila Prabhupada there, they decided to have another initiation that same day at night. So we had fire yajna, installation of deities, and devotee initiations in the morning. And in the evening, they had another fire sacrifice and more initiations. And Prabhupada came, and the same thing, sat on a little pillow in the temple room right by the fire sacrifice. And he initiated another batch of devotees. The whole time he was there, he only sat on the Vyasasana that one time when he first arrived at the temple. After that, he never sat on it again. He always would come and sit on this little cushion up by the where the sacrifices were. And that was Srila Prabhupada's visit in Boston, 1971.
Hare Krishna. This question is for His Grace Mahamuni Prabhu.
I have to qualify myself. I am a simple man, so the question must be simple.
The question is, how can we continue practicing Krishna consciousness year after year like you have been practicing?
When the cows were stunned, the mother cow was stunned, and she thought the sound of Krishna's flute was liquid nectar coming down, and she stretched her long ears out to collect the nectar. And the little calf was stunned. She had the nipple in her mouth and couldn't suck. And she was just stunned there. And tears began to roll down from her eyes. And the relationship she had with Krishna was a heart-to-heart relationship. She took Krishna into the heart. And Prabhupada explains how that this Krishna consciousness movement is a heart-to-heart affair. So if we want to continue to practice year after year Krishna consciousness, then we have to take Krishna into our heart somehow. We take so many things into our heart. This time we just have to learn to take Krishna into our heart. And how do we do that? We have to approach the bona fide spiritual master. Tadvidi paripatena paripasnena sevaya. Inquire from him, render service. And you can understand what this heart-to-heart business is about. Because it says that he has darshan with Krishna, right? Isn't that the verse? Because he sees the truth, he can give you the truth. Because he can see Krishna, he can help you see Krishna. And you can enter into a relationship with Krishna heart to heart. So it's not a process of, It's not a process that's artificial. We were talking yesterday about building foundations. That we have to learn to build the foundation of chanting 16 rounds, following the 4 regular principles, but building a relationship with the spiritual master. And when you build a relationship with the spiritual master, you build a relationship with Krishna. Because he's a transparent via media to Krishna. I don't know anything about Krishna very much, just what I read in the books that Prabhupada gave us. But I have affection for Srila Prabhupada, my love for Srila Prabhupada. That's what keeps me coming back. Even though I struggle every day, just like we all struggle every day. But because I have a relationship with Srila Prabhupada, I come back. So build a relationship with your spiritual master. Chant your rounds each day sincerely, begging Krishna. You know the process. Chant with the mouth, hear with the ear. You know, Krishna, the mind becomes trapped in the middle. And then we simply turn our life over to the spiritual master. And if you do that, you'll come back year after year. Isn't it? You'll just continue to chant. Myself, I struggle every day. This morning I was just like everybody else in here, chanting, trying to hear my rounds. I was just trying to hear each word. And if you just try to hear each word each day, then Krishna will give you a little taste, and the next day you'll come back for that taste again. Then again he'll give you a little taste. And you keep inquiring from the spiritual master and rendering service. Like that. Build a relationship with the Vaishnavas. I come because I have such dear friends. Right? One time I was in San Diego, I was thinking, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. And somebody told me, I'm going to pick up Radhanath-Swami at the airport. I said, can I go? And when I went and met him at the airport, he said, oh my God, you'll never believe where I just came from. I was just in New Vrindavan, and all night I was talking with Vikreshwara Pandit. We were telling Mahamuni stories. And here you are. And I hadn't seen Maharaj in like 20 years. And he gave me such affection. So it allowed me to see that the devotees, just like Srila Prabhupada, want us to continue to chant every day. So I come back because I have loving exchanges with my god brothers, god sisters. I have these loving exchanges that give me that taste each day that make me want to chant 16 rounds. So you have to build loving exchanges with your god sisters, your god brothers, and with your spiritual master. And if you do that, then one day you'll see Krishna face to face, and you'll keep coming back every day, chanting your rounds. It's no secret. It's just, you just have to do it. And we hear it. Maharaj gave such nice talks yesterday, today, about these very things. And that's what makes us come back. So like that. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. This question is for Sukhawaha Mataji. This devotee is saying, I was born in a political family, and my parents always taught me how to be a little proud. And now that I have become a devotee, I have been taught here how to suppress my pride and my false ego. And I am struggling with these two. Whereas my upbringing has been that I have been taught to be proud, and now I am taught here how to be humble. So how do I deal with this?
Good question. Well, it's good that you notice that you have to deal with this pride. And one thing we can do with pride is we can be proud that we're a part of Krishna, and we can be proud that we have a spiritual master that teaches us about Krishna. That's always a good thing to do. And then the other part, how I deal with my pride is every time I make a mistake, or every time I have to go to the bathroom, or I just realize I'm in this human body, I say, thank you, Krishna, for reminding me how tiny I am and how little control I have, and thank you for reminding me just how little I am. And we get so many reminders throughout the day, and if we thank Krishna for all those reminders, thank you for reminding me how little I am, then we just can remember just how little we are, and we don't even have to think about being proud or not. We just realize we're just little. So I try to do it in a real simple way. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. This question is for His Holiness Radhanath-Swami Maharaj. How does authority and free will go hand in hand? Sometimes we find that authorities interfere with our free will, whereas even Krishna does not interfere with our free will.
Give me yours.
Hari, you should ask your authority. Krishna is the supreme authority. In Bhagavad Gita, he is intervening within the realm of your free will by giving you not only instructions, by giving you orders. But we have the free will to follow or not follow. And similarly, our authorities, who theoretically are acting on behalf of Krishna, may be giving us orders, but still we have the free will to follow or not follow. We have the free will to stay or to leave. In Krishna consciousness, no authority can force you to do anything. So it is the mercy of Krishna and the mercy of Vaishnavas to intervene within our free will, to give us the positive choices to make. But still, there is no one who could take away our free will. Even Krishna will not interfere with that. He may interfere, but he will not take it away. You have the free will to leave your authority in Krishna consciousness at any moment, any day. Yes? All of our spiritual advancement is simply based on how we use our free will moment after moment after moment. After the whole Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna, now you do as you like. And Arjuna is representing all of us. So after we read Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is telling to us, now you can do what you like. And how many of us have made the same choice as Arjuna to the same extent as Arjuna? It is our free will. Free will is the means by which Krishna has given us to love him. Without free will, there can be no real love. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. This question is for His Holiness Chandramauli Swami Maharaj. Sometimes when we are walking on the roads, we find some empty packs on which the Lord's names are written. For example, here in Pune, there is this very famous spiced chipped rice called Lakshmi Narayan Chivda. So the names Lakshmi Narayan are written on that. So when we find these packs lying on the road with a picture of the Lord or the names of the Lord written there, what should we do about it? Is it an offense to just allow them to lie there on the road? Should we pick it up, or what should be done with these packs?
Krishna is absolute, and all his forms are also. I know for myself, I used these little tilak packages. They have a picture of Krishna on it. So I don't throw the box away. Like sometimes I see devotees, they take the box and throw it. I take it, anything with pictures. Dispose of it all as sacred trash, like that. Either bury it or can also burn it like that. But you know, I mean, we have Ratha Yatras. Sometimes we're throwing prasadam. People step on the prasadam. That's also, we take that. So these things go on. But if you can prevent it, and if you see it, and your consciousness is such that you feel that this is offensive, this is not right, then pick it up. And put it and dispose of it in a proper way.
Thank you, Maharaj. The next question is for His Grace Soma Prabhu. As a neophyte devotee, I am trying to follow the 4 regulative principles, but it's especially difficult when we have no association. So when we have no association, how do we get inspiration to follow the principles?
My understanding is that without association, you won't be able to follow the regulative principles. Of course, you can associate, like, through the books, but without another Vaishnav to associate with you, it is very difficult, if not impossible. So we have to make that a very important part of our life, to associate with the Vaishnavas, with devotees.
Thank you, Prabhu. This question is for His Grace Mahamuni Prabhu. Why does the Lord allow a person to pray to the demigods even when he knows that it is not good for that person?
It doesn't say anywhere in the scripture it's not good for them. Prabhupada said we even worship a wealthy man if he can help us out, remove the obstacles in our devotional service. In the Nectar Devotion, it talks about praying to Ganesh to help remove the obstacles of our devotional service. And we know that sometimes people pray to the demigods for material benefits. Krishna explains these are less intelligent people, because they're asking for temporary benefits to apply to a spiritual person who's eternal. So that qualifies them as less intelligent. But it's not that it's not good for you to pray to the demigods. We understand the demigods are servants of Krishna. But any good businessman knows if you want to make the highest profit, you cut out the middleman, right? So we don't need to go to the demigods, they're like the middleman. If you want the highest profit, you go directly to Krishna. So you can play, we know, even with the holy name of the Lord, there are primary names of the Lord and secondary names of the Lord. Well, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he appeared, he gave us the primary name of the Lord, Hare and Krishna and Rama. He gave us the Maha Mantra so that we can go directly to Goloka Vrindavan, right? This Golokera Premadan Harinam Sankirtan. He gave us this Harinam to go directly to Goloka into this Prema Ras. So we know as devotees, we don't have to pray to the demigods. We can go directly to the source. We can even go all the way to the highest point. But it's not that it's bad for you to pray to the demigods. Sometimes there's devotees who will go to someone's house and doing a program, they'll see a picture of the demigod and tell them to move that picture out. I can't talk unless, that picture's out of that. That's not the point. These are devotees of the Lord. They're devotees of the Lord. But the prayer should be to Krishna for the devotee of the Lord. Some people pray to make gradual advancement. They'll make some gradual advancement in devotional service or in pious activities and then hopefully eventually in devotional service. But it's not like it's bad for you. Some devotees go home, their parents have been worshiping Lord Shiva for generations. They go, no, this is bad. And you can't, that's not the point. We can pray to Lord Shiva to remove our obstacles in devotional service. He's the greatest Vaishnava. We know that. So, I would encourage whoever's question that is to try not to see things so black and white. It is good for us, it's bad for us, it's good for, Praying for material benefits, it's not very advantageous to your spiritual life. It's not going to help you. But if you're praying to remove the material obstacles so that you can engage in Krishna service like Prabhupada is recommending Ganesh, then do like that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay, Prabhu.